So welcome to our first virtual Tableau user group. I'm Skylar, Skyby Johnson on Twitter. I'm hosting the event tonight. So for those joining us for the first time, here's the purpose of a Tableau user group. We want to connect with other passionate Tableau users. We want to share knowledge, encourage collaboration within the community, and be inspired. And we're still figuring out how we can best promote connection and collaboration whilst being virtual. And some housekeeping to stay updated for when we have events. You can subscribe to the usergroups.tableau.com/New York site. You can follow us on Twitter at NYC_TUG, or you can join one of the LinkedIn groups. And we need your help. We always need your help. We are customer run, and we need y'all to bring content to these events. So if after this session you feel like you have something to share, fill out this form or get in contact with me. We're always looking for speakers to present their Tableau dashboard or data visualization stories. And we try to avoid like sales pitch sessions or a focus on some other third-party tool. I'll also note it'd be especially interesting to hear more stories like the ones that we're going to hear later tonight from New York City organizations or on the topic of health, race, diversity, and equality, since those are big issues in our community. And there must be some great data analysis happening to support that. When y'all RSVP'd, we collected this question. So we want to welcome the 60% of the new attendees here. One benefit, I guess, of having this virtual is that it's easier to attend these events. From the Tableau community, if you're looking for Viz inspiration, Tableau Public is a great place. And the featured authors are the best place to start. Tableau is always refreshing the pool of featured authors. And actually one New York City's own Michael Summons was featured just recently. So you can check out his Tableau Public page. You can follow him on Twitter. I think I saw him in the attendees tonight. So applaud and give him your cheers. And we'll have to have you present at the next event, Michael. And also, as with most things, the Iron Viz dashboarding competition is virtual this year. The feeder round ends next week and the theme was health and wellness. If you entered and you want feedback, or if you just want us to hype you up or have questions, we'd love to talk more about that. And in New York City news, a few months ago, I saw this great video from one of Cuomo's press conferences. I think we've all seen dashboards break into the mainstream during the pandemic. I'm sure I'm not the only one explaining to my family how to use and read a dashboard because suddenly everyone is very interested. And this quote, when Cuomo was presenting that New York State was going to have a daily dashboard, he says that they told me they were designing a dashboard. I got very excited about it. I sent them a picture of what I think is one of the really iconic dashboards, 1967 Corvette, arguably the most beautiful dashboard. And he says some other funny stuff on the topic of dashboards if you want to watch that YouTube video. So let's get into today's agenda. We'll have presentations from Jeff and Juan from Northwell Health and Lenox Hill Hospital. And then Juan will wrap up with lightning tips. We'll collect questions via Zoom. So if you have a question throughout the presentation, ask it via the Zoom Q&A feature or in chat. And we'll get to that at the end if we have time. So presenting the presenters, first we'll hear from Jeff Silver, who's the Director of Healthcare Analytics at Northwell Health. This is his bio, and I'll call out that he's been using Tableau since 2012. He established and leads the Analytic Resource Center and is responsible for enterprise reporting and data visualization. I also like he's a member of the U.S. Air Force Auxiliary and has spent 25 years as a volunteer firefighter and EMT. So thank you, Jeff. And then we will have Juan. Juan is a healthcare analytics leader and data visualization expert at Northwell Health Lenox Hill Hospital. He uses Tableau to create innovative visualizations that improve hospital operations, quality of clinical care, and patient experience. So I will stop sharing. I'll let Jeff begin with his presentation.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Can you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm a new member to the New York City TUG virtually. Hopefully, one day we'll get to see you guys in person and network a little bit. But we're here tonight to talk a little bit about Northwell Health, a little bit about our journey. I've been with Northwell Health for just about 29 years now. I started out in radiology as an ultrasound tech. Through the years, worked my way through the different various positions, was a director of radiology for a few years. And while I was director of radiology, purchased my first Tableau license in 2012. And it's been quite the journey ever since. I ended up leaving radiology for healthcare analytics and get into the analytics space. I found it fascinating. I've always had a thirst for data, and we sure have that now. So a little bit about Northwell. We're more than 72,000 employees. We're the largest, New York's largest private employer. 23 hospitals, 800 outpatient facilities. Had more than 38,000 births, plenty of hospital discharges. We have the largest hospital-based laboratory in North America, which is C.A.R.E. Labs. Played a big part in the serology testing here in the Northeast following the COVID break. And we're also one of the nation's top employers for military veterans. A little bit about our service area. We have a very large footprint. Like I said, about 800 facilities. So altogether with those are Go Health, Urgy centers, there's dialysis centers, we have cancer centers, the hospitals, and also teaching centers. A little bit about the operating statistics. We have 14,000 certified credentialed physicians, about 17,000 nurses, 5,000 volunteers. So, we have a very large base of employees that we also, look out for. The operating budget for the hospital is about 13.5 billion annual operating budget. And, as we get into the, I don't know if you can see this laser pointer here, but the operating statistics, really what I want to talk to you about. There's a large health system, so there's a lot of data. We see 2 million plus patients annually. 300 and so thousand discharges, emergency visits, ambulance transports, home health visits. As you can imagine, if you've ever been in a hospital or had the unfortunate, had to be in a hospital, there are tons of data points that we collect daily throughout the life cycle of the, of the patient's admission, or even somebody just coming into the emergency room real quickly. So the amount of data just adds up unbelievably. Sorry, I couldn't get to the next slide. So that's a lot of data, and that's great, right? We get our data from 24 source systems, 700 plus databases, house this data. We have about 400 data related tickets per month. ETL data movement, just for our reporting server, we move about 4.7 billion transactions across the multiple layers of the EDW in under 4 hours a day to support the reporting. And our near real-time data mart is approximately 4.5 million records every hour. So, like I said, come in for a hospital assessment, every question, every little interaction is documented. There's timestamps. So all those little data points, they add up real quick. So what do you do with all that? We have the healthcare analytics team. Okay, this is the department I'm in now. Like I said, I left radiology. I'm part of the analytics team. We've come a long way in the last few years. We have about 73 employees in the division, operating in 6 different verticals. So this is the entire healthcare analytics team. We have what we call the Analytics Resource Center, which I'll go into in a little bit, that supports our web-based platform. We have database administrators, system administrators. We have master data management folks in the data integrity and governance area that handle a lot of the data profiling. We have a reporting team that creates all the reports, SSRS reports, dashboards. They also support a lot of the tickets and the inquiries that come into the department. We have a robust data strategy team head by a physician. And you know, they're really you know, the biggest focus for them is the clinical content development. And then we also have a data management group that handles all these transactions and the movement of all this data on a daily basis. The end product is, and this is not all of them, these are our data marts that supports our self-service analytics. They're extensive data marts, have tons of information. These for the most part are updated every night. We have an emergency department data mart, antimicrobial. It's very important to look at benchmarks and trends of how we're using antibiotics in our different facilities. We also have a pharmacy and a surgical, diabetes, reference data management, data mart, you know, that is defined by standard, you know, standards organization. So everything is standardized. Access devices, all the monitors folks use. We also have data points on that. So that's something new we're looking at also. And then the near real time hospital data mart, which a lot of folks like Juan uses on a daily basis to create the dashboards and some of the efforts that, you know, he's working on. So the Tableau environment. When I came to the team in 2015, we had not implemented Tableau Server yet. We were still working off of local images. We were using Tableau Reader. As you saw by the footprint of the health system, you know, that's kind of difficult to use Tableau Reader. Some people can, you know, install it. Some people can't. You know, there's different permissions security-wise in the health system of what you could do, what you can't do. So we did implement in 2015, and one of the things that I came on to do was, you know, assist in the implementation of the enterprise Tableau environment. So we're currently running on 2022.3, which is, we just recently upgraded to that. We have a 24 core high availability clustered environment. That's only in the last year. That's fairly recent. That has helped us out tremendously, you know, with some of our efforts. We have 350 plus publishers, 176 projects, 1,100 workbooks. And like I said, we implemented this in 2015. So a little bit more about the Tableau Server, and I just want to spend some time on it. So some of the things that I'm going to mention here are just some of the things that we took our lumps and bumps with along the way. It wasn't a perfect implementation out of the gate. Like I said, it was new to us. We have a lot of different users across, you know, like I said, a large area. When we went to the clustered version and the high availability environment, one thing that we were able to do is we're able to do our updates and patches a lot quicker now because we have the secondary service. So we don't really have any downtime. Originally, we would wait maybe 6 months, maybe do an update, you know, once or twice a year. But now we found that we try to keep in cadence with the Tableau releases. We've been, in the last few months, we've upgraded 3 times. New versions, major upgrades, we will schedule downtime. You know, we have folks that have a lot of dependency on the dashboards that we serve up now, and they use them in the clinical space. So, you know, we will do that, schedule downtime for stuff like that. And this is an important one. Keep a strong relationship with your most valuable publishers. We call them MVPs. Juan is one of them. You know, whenever we're going to do something with one of the environments, you know, we're very conscious of, you know, the end users and their experience and what they, you know, how they're using Tableau. So we work closely with them when we do upgrades or make any changes to the environments. There's about 14 or 15 or so MVPs in the health system we work with regularly. Another thing we do every night is sync Active Directory and reboot the server nightly. We run on a Windows server. So sometimes, you know, to prevent memory leaks and just better performance, we reboot nightly. The Tableau server is internal to our network. This is something that we house inside the network. It's not cloud-based. So we also have external connectivity. We set up an external DNS. You still have to log in with Northwell credentials, but this gave the flexibility that people can log in from anywhere in the world on a phone or anything and get the reports that they needed. And, you know, relatively quickly. The other thing is, as we've expanded our, you know, our footprint as far as, you know, with, you know, affiliations with other hospitals, not all of them are on the same network. So they weren't able to, you know, join in on the internal network, they had the option of going to the external. So if you do set something up like that and you have to meet, you know, a demand for folks on the inside and outside, that's something that's a good thing to have, is the external security. And then the other thing that we struggled with a little bit early on, and we've now come to a hybrid approach, is really the access security. We, all of our dashboards are accessed and permissioned via AD group. So that, you know, we felt that, and that's maintained by the publisher of that space, of that project, so that they're the best ones to know who their audience are, and they really should maintain the user access list. Following COVID, we did have to go to locally managed groups. There was a firestorm of people that needed access from all different areas of the enterprise that might not have had access, you know, originally, and we couldn't just start telling people to open up tickets. It wasn't like that. So we pivoted overnight, really, on some of these things, and you know, we're able to provide access to, you know, C-suite and folks throughout the enterprise. A little bit, some of our Tableau usage statistics. This is from last year, March through the 14th of July, so it's current. We have 5.4 thousand unique users in the environment, about 491 unique viewers per day. The total views, 2.1 million. I'll explain why. We run a lot of monitors. We have a lot of embedded analytics. So we have monitors that refresh, you know, on the minute. So that's why these views are so high. And then average views per day, the 4.4 thousand. The other thing we do is we tie this into our PeopleSoft database with the user. So we know who's looking at it, whether it's nurses, administrative, you know, physician-based. So very interesting just to see who's using Tableau, and you can see, you know, the core portion of the day when you know, using it is usually from like 11 till about 8 p.m. Here's a monthly view real quick. You could see the spike when we hit with COVID. We had to do a couple of things when that happened. There was such a demand on the server. We did see a little bit of an impact on performance. What we did real quick was started shutting down extracts that were running, you know, that, you know, for something that might be only a yearly view, they're running it a couple of times a year or even daily, you know, a live view almost, you know, folks are running extracts. So we had to cut that back a little bit in order to, you know, maintain performance. So that's why you see a little bit of a dip here. Another reason why you see a little bit of a dip is a lot of our outpatient facilities were closed. So a lot of folks were not looking at these reports. There was no need to at the time. You know, a lot of them are daily reports, activity reports. So that we're anticipating to start, you know, trending up. Another quick view at COVID, you could see real quickly here, you know, the saturated space here. This is a weekly views. And you could see, you know, right here, right about when it hit in the beginning of March, you know, really through the end of May into June, was really tasking the server and a lot of usage. You could also use our data source usage was also high during that time. This one we're still looking at, but, you know, overall here you see the spread over a few weeks. We had a lot of you know, hits on the data extract and the extracts. So I want to talk real quickly, you know, about the Analytic Resource Center. This is really at the center of everything that we do. It's an analytics solutions portal, if you will. Like I said, we have folks from all over the place. You know, back in 2015 when I first joined the team, the year before that, I was struggling to find answers to things about analytics in the health system. It was out there, people getting the reports that they needed, but there really wasn't anything centralized. So, you know, this is something new that we brought to the health system. The whole purpose is to really centralize, enable folks. Lenox Hill is a perfect example of that. You know, we partnered with Juan and his team to get them successful, and now they're off and running and doing their own thing. And that's a great success story for us, and you'll hear more from Juan on that. Adoption, we want to make sure that people are using the tools and have the things that they need at their hands to do their job. Also support, and also embedded analytics. I'll just show you real quick. This is the portal. We have a couple of different, a lot of public dashboards and stuff like that. We have connections to our outside, within the network, different links in that. Like I said, we want this as a landing zone. If somebody comes to the health system, brand new employee, how do I find out about analytics? This is where they should come. So these are just some of the menus. Here are some of the public dashboards that we have that are available to, it's open to most folks except for the emergency medicine operations monitor. a lot of these monitors, the pharmacy monitor, emergency monitor, those all contribute to that high number of views. These are monitors that are running throughout the departments throughout the hospitals and the pharmacies, stuff like that. We also have a Northwell Health physician partner scorecard. So physicians can see how they're performing, which is also very important. So a lot of good stuff in that space. Another thing we have is some tools. We actually created a SQL Server pricing calculator out of a Tableau dashboard, which was very handy, and then folks could print it out and put it in, with any of the requests that they have. We also were able to do something relatively quick, and I see on the right-hand side here, this tracking tool. So this is just a form within the ARC where we can collect manually abstracted data and help normalize it. If we don't have normalized data, you can't report on it, right? So what we found was we wanted to make easy to use forms, and when COVID hit, we had to pivot very quickly. We got a call in the afternoon. We have to start collecting data about our burn rate for these masks. We have to report to the state how many masks we're using, stuff like that. We had nothing in place. I mean, we've done stuff like this in the past in the hospitals in the years that I've worked there, where you collect things, each manager collects something on a piece of paper. At the end of the day, somebody takes that piece of paper, has to put all those numbers together. So we were able to really quickly create a form like this. And I'll show you one of the reports that come out of that in a moment. But having this centralized platform, it was key to be able to provide quick turnaround during the COVID crisis. So with the COVID response, we've all been tasked to innovate in order to meet the ongoing surge of requests for our COVID-related solutions. They haven't stopped. They're still trickling in today. We're still looking at things on a daily basis. And, we've done some wonderful work, and there's still a lot of work to be done. This is our currently admitted patients. This is a real dashboard. This is as of a few days ago. We have right now, patients under investigation. We have about 3,200 patients in the health system right now. We can really quickly see the comorbidities, whether they're in ICU or not in ICU. We have an idea about, gender, age, who's on a ventilator, who's not on a ventilator, isolation. This is a high-level enterprise dashboard, and then you can really take a look at all the hospitals here. This is all of our testing that's been done in the health system. For COVID-related testing, anything that we've done, whether you've been an inpatient, an outpatient, come through one of the EDs, had some type of testing done, you might have come to one of the sites, and same thing. We have the spread between the different, the gender, the race, the comorbidities, and all the totals. So we've seen about 70,000 COVID-positive patients. Part of our job now is to monitor and and take a look and see what trends we might see. This is a dashboard of all respiratory related surveillance. Don't forget, when people come in, they don't come in for COVID. They don't come in for the flu. They come in for, I have a cough, or I've been coughing for 3 weeks, or I have a dry cough. So monitoring respiratory type illnesses coming in through the ED and admissions, or maybe some of the urgent centers, is something we're looking at now, and we can easily see some trends and some maybe forecasts. So something we're looking at now. This is some serology testing that we've done. Like I said, we've had, this is actually community-based. This is something that we did for the faith-based population when they were looking to, return to their practices. We wanted to do some testing, and the state actually gave us questions, and we integrated this into our scheduling system, and out of that, we were able to produce these dashboards. We also have first responders and other community groups that we also have done testing and tracking for. So this is the N95 tracking data. So, now with the changes in the federal regulations of who's, reporting, we don't report to CDC anymore, we report up to the feds and human health. We have to actually provide these numbers. So we were actually in a good place that we came up with this way to track the N95 usage. We've deployed, not every hospital was doing it, where, some of them had something in place. We didn't want to rock the boat too much, but, during the crisis, But like I said, so far as of today, it's a little bit more now. It's about 250,000 masks that we've dispensed, and we know whether it was a non-employee, nursing surge, peri-op nursing, stuff like that. So we have a lot of work to do. We've done a lot of work. Like I said, our department's piece is just to make sure that this keeps running, and also give folks like Juan and some of the other teams the support they need. And that's about it. That's about a wrap. Juan?
All right, can you see my dashboard?
Yeah.
Sorry, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, hi everyone. How are you today? Thank you for the opportunity to share some of our work. And what I'm going to do right now, part of our conversation and our presentation, is Jeff gave us a great example of how Northwell has invested in the data capabilities. And now what we're going to share with you is some of the dashboards that we actually have developed that make use of all of this infrastructure that we have in place. So before we start, just let me talk about a little about Lenox Hill Hospital. So if you wonder where we are located, you will take the 6th train to 76th Street, and it will take you to Lenox Hill Hospital. If you ever in need for any hospital needs or ERs, I would recommend you to come to our hospital. I expect the ER wait times are 15 minutes at this time, so they will see you very soon. If you want to learn more about us, you can go to our website. And if you really, really want to know more about us, we actually have a series in Netflix, and we had great reviews. So you'll be able to learn more about Lenox Hill Hospital and the care that we can provide our patients. But part of the presentation today, I want to share with you is what has been our experience with Tableau and how we've been able to create a data-driven culture in our organization. So in our current setup, we have 6 active developers. We have about 440 users that see our dashboards. We currently support 1 hospital, and for the past 2.5 years, we have over 175,000 views of our data visualizations. I think the most important thing I could tell you is the great team that we have built at Lenox Hill Hospital of various people that are using Tableau for their visualizations. They're all very inexperienced and level, but I think our team is really creating great work. And one of the great things that allow us to do with this Tableau team is that it really provides a structure and organization to provide training for new Tableau users. And in this way, we can literally leverage the talent and analytical minds that people have in our hospital, and now we're able to channel them through data visualization and through Tableau. Also, having this team allows us to work and collaborate with each other to enhance the analytic work that we do at our hospital. So now what I want to talk to you is about our dashboards and what we have created. So as Jeff mentioned, back in the day, he was using Excel. Well, Lenox Hill Hospital, we were drawing our dashboards. Well, that's not true, but I like to say that. So one day, our new medical director, Dr. Baker, came to us with this sketch. And he says, I want to create something real time to provide a quick snapshot to everyone in the hospital. They will be able to know their quality metrics, the hospital operations. He wanted to create a way for everyone to know what's happening on the hospital. So the C.A.R.E board, this is from the sketch, his sketch. This is what actually became the dashboard. And this dashboard is actually based on our culture of care. And our culture of care is based in 4 principles: connectedness, awareness, respect, and empathy. And these values is something that we're trying to embed in our daily interactions with our patients, with our families, and with each other. with these, then what we wanted to do with this visualization is how can we embed that and show that through numbers and connect to everyone. So as you see in this dashboard, I'll take some time to talk about some of the things that you find here. So on top, definitely we wanted to embrace our culture model. And one of the things that we added is to bring the huddle message. And huddle message are messages that come every week. They get updated automatically. And these are messages that really reinforce our culture here at Lenox Hill Hospital in Northwell. And on this board, it allows us to connect with everyone in the hospital. So we're able, for example, give them messages and announcements and updates. So a few days ago, we had a magnet visit. So this is one of an agency that provides, recognition to hospital based on their care that they provide. So one of the ways that we excited everyone, we put it on the care board. We gave a countdown. So every time they will see it, they will know that this was coming. We also able to provide them with links on the top that will show them, take them to a data portal or take them to more information about COVID or any other important things that are happening in Northwell. And part of the vision that Dr. Baker came with us, this actually where you see most of the content here. We have our patient experience, which will be our customer experience. So be able to share with everyone their metrics, whether or not they're meeting their goals or not. In addition, we're able to share with them care moments. And these are comments that our patients leave for our staff. So this is great to build that, awareness, connectedness with them. We're able to provide them with current status of the house. We tell them, how many patients have been admitted? How many patients have left the hospital? How many patients are after having surgery waiting for a bed? How many patients do we have on the AD that are waiting for a bed? And we also have our quality metrics. We have readmissions, and these are a quality measure that we're trying to keep patients outside the hospital for 30 days. So we track those things. And we actually have our safety of care section that talks about all like infections that may happen in the hospital or events that we want to prevent, like falls. And these help us to tell everyone how we're doing in all of these important initiatives. So this is something that we're very proud that we have created. And especially because this is something that everyone has access to, and so help us to create transparency and be able to provide real-time data to everyone in the hospital. So now what I want to share with you is about COVID-19 and what Lenox Hill Hospital went through in preparation for this pandemic. One of the things that we noticed on COVID-19 is that this was new for everyone. We had very little knowledge on what would be the impact on the hospitals. And I think this become a very important time in our lives on how we can actually leverage data to augment our decision-making. How can we use data visualization to provide understanding and insights to things that may be new or foreign to our normal days? So the coronavirus COVID-19 readiness dashboard, when we designed this, we wanted to bring two concepts into this. We wanted to bring you macro level data, so aggregated total numbers. And we also wanted to provide you a data visualization for you to be able to have a better understanding what's actually happening. So what you see on the left side, you will see the aggregated numbers. So for example, the COVID-19 patients were all orange. So you'll have the aggregate number there. We'll have something called the PUI, and this is Jeff mentioned before about patients that are under investigation. So these are patients that we believe that they may have COVID, but we're waiting for testing to confirm that. And we also provide some other global measures telling us the totality of patients that we have in our hospitals and how many in the ED or waiting for bed. Now, when we actually see on the middle, what we did here from a visualization point of view, we literally took every single bed in the hospital and we visualize them. And then what we did is we assigned all of these different beds, whether they had a COVID patient, did they had a regular patient, was the bed empty, was the bed occupied, or was it blocked for a patient that was in the ED waiting to go for a bed. And what this did is gave another level of insight to understanding to our executives and our leadership team to know which units we're getting full, where do we need to increase capacity, where do we have room to be able to accommodate more patients. And this became very important as people needed to know up to the minute, how, the hospital was changing with the influx of these patients. So this is one of the important things that Tableau and its features made a big difference for us. And on the left side, we actually able to, if they didn't want to count how many beds were available, we actually did the math in Tableau. So it allowed for them to know how many beds we had available. And so we gave a whole spectrum of information. But within all of these, there are actually other levels of details. So when you actually look at the specific beds, and these vary for the different users and people looking information, we are able to leverage various different features on Tableau to provide additional information within the visualization. For example, for patients that had a mechanical ventilator, they all got a diamond. So as you see here, you'll be able to see which patient were mechanical ventilator or not. We're able to tell specific features about specific rooms, whether they had like negative pressure rooms. So these are special rooms for a special type of patients. So we wanted to make sure what was their capacity there. Other things tell them, whether a bed was blocked because, we were serving for a COVID patients or for other reasons. So this level of details we were able to provide for the various users that were using the information, whether you wanted to see very micro targeted specific data, or you just needed to have a sense of what's happening across the hospital. But as we know, just a snapshot, it's not enough. Something that's happening at the time, it doesn't really give us a perception or understanding what's really happening. So one of the features that we have available now through Tableau is this sort of pop-up windows that we're allowed to leverage to increase the real estate on visualization. So we use this one for trends. And what you see on the one on top, we're able to show our daily census at 7 o'clock in the morning of how many patients we had at that given time. And this really helped us to understand a little bit of if the trend, if the curve was going up, if the curve was on plateau, or if we're seeing a drop of cases. And also for now, we continually whether or not we're seeing a spike of patients or not. Other part that become very important for us is in the hospitals, beds, it's one of the most crucial commodities. Like if we don't have beds, we cannot see patients. So one of the important things that we needed to understand is what kind of beds were the need when we were seeing this influx of COVID patients. So with this graph in the bottom, we're able to actually track what was the need and how fast we needed to create capacity. So for example, on red, you will see our ICU beds, and we see that initially, even though we saw an increasement, it was not as steep as the need as we saw for regional beds. But something that I observed that was very interesting is that at the same way that they went up in demand, actually that demand decreased pretty much about the same rate. But what we saw for ICU beds is that actually the need for these beds actually prolonged, and they took a very long time to actually be able to free up these resources. Another thing that we were able to provide were statistics, our trends for admissions, our trends for discharges, mortality, and extubations, and also to have an understanding of what time of the day we were seeing the influx of patients coming in. So as we were transitioning from the midst of the pandemic, and we were seeing like so many patients, and now we're in the recovery, or like what New York is experiencing right now, a reopening, then became the need is how do we fine tuning as we start bringing more patients into the hospital and have an understanding on how aggressive can we bring patients in, or, are we giving us enough buffer if we see a second surge? So this is when it became very important to the utilization of predictive modeling and data visualization. So on this dashboard, what we actually did is we just created one section that literally tells us what is the current census, and give us what is the current census of each level of care and what is the current availability for those levels of care. Then on the other part of the dashboard, what we did is we actually took our OR schedule, and this is something that actually was discontinued, and this is all our elective surgeries. So when we were in the middle of the pandemic, all the elective surgery was canceled to create capacity in the hospitals. When we were able to do surgeries again, we wanted to make sure that we had understanding what beds and what utilization we will have. So one of the things that we started to do is we use the predictive modeling. So now we're able to look into today, tomorrow, and 2 days and 3 days from now to understand the future needs that we will have and what kind of beds will be needing the patients that will be coming into our hospital in the future. And one of the things that's also very important every time we use predictive modeling and any AI tool is for us to be able to provide some sort of details and understanding to those that are using it. So again, in the data visualization features in Tableau, we're able to create, you click something and then a new pop-up window will show, and we're able to show you more information. So for example, we will tell you for this specific type of procedure, the patient will require this level of care. This will be the probability for that to happen, and what will be the expectation for these patients to be in this specific unit. So this type of information, we're able to show them and continue working on that. The other part that I wanted to share features that we use in Tableau is the notification features. The notification features allow us to look at a specific process or a specific function on your business that needs to happen, and we're able to define some parameters or some threshold. And whenever these thresholds are reached or parameters are reached, we're able to fire alerts or notifications to alert the team, either to bring awareness or to cause intervention. And on this example, we're using readmissions. As I mentioned before, this was one of the quality metrics that we are held accountable in hospitals. So what we do here is we don't necessarily need to have someone always be looking at a dashboard to know that something happened. So what we do, instead of having them clicking, we actually push these alerts to them and notify them through emails or through MS Teams or through whatever information systems that we have, to be able for them to be able to know that an event happened, whether this time this alert was about readmission, so whether or not a patient has been readmitted. So this is the type of utilization on how we're using Tableau for prescriptive analytics and alerts and notifications in combination with AI. So it's I think one of the most important things for us is to know, or we create all of this content, but how effectively are the end users consuming the information and finding this useful. So it's very important for us to measure our viewership. So in 2018, we're averaging about 900 views a month. In 2019, we're averaging about 2,000 monthly views. And in 2020, we exponentially grew to about 24,000 views a month. And these numbers actually were a little skewed because of COVID. And we do expect numbers to normalize and lower a little bit. But what this really tells us is that thanks to Northwell and the work that Jeff has done, we'll be able to have the infrastructure ready and the data capabilities ready. So whenever we had an event like this that required a high demand of data analytics and data visualization, we were able and ready to provide that level of information. And the outcome of that is that we have a data-driven culture in organization. The people are looking at our data to make decisions and consuming information to improve their day-to-day operations. And I just wanted to showcase some of the dashboards that the Tableau team has created in 2018. These are different fields of the dashboards, different styles. People like the trends. We have heat maps. We have alerts. We have even new total designs. And I think this has been very important because we'll be able to support strategic initiatives in our hospital, whether they're related to finance, throughput, staffing, or clinical quality initiatives, or whether they're related to regulatory surveys or things of that nature. I think our hospital has come a long way on the utilization of analytics to really make an impact on the things that we're doing. And so that was my presentation. And I believe I have the next section as well. And I'll try to go a little bit section fast, so we'll have some time for the questions that I see that are coming. So for the lining tips, what we're gonna do is from the New York City Health COVID-19 data. I'm using this data found on GitHub. And what we're going to do, I'm gonna show you two tips that I think are very powerful in Tableau. One is actions using the change parameters. And then the second one is our objects to show and hide pop-up windows. So I think you'll enjoy this. So bear with me while I change my view. Okay. All right, can anyone confirm if you're seeing my Tableau screen right now? Jeff, Skylar, can you see my screen?
Yep, we see it.
All right, great. So what I wanted to show you is, all right, this will be like a regular dashboard that we put together. We go here and let's say we want to use a map and we want to use a table. It looks great, right? It has nice colors. But I think one of the powerful things that we can do in Tableau is to actually use the interaction features that we have in place. So I'm going to walk you through two of my favorites. And so the first one we're going to do is utilizing action parameters. So let's take a look how we're going to do that. All right, so we're going to go to a map and remove it here. And here's we have our map. And let me actually delete this. So I will start from the beginning. All right, so we have our dashboard and viewer map. So what we want to do is right now on our map, we have all the counties. But I want to do is have the ability to zoom in each different county and borough, and be able to, instead of having to see New York City, I'm able to drill down and in and out. And I wanted to have it in a very friendly system. So what I'm going to do is two things. The first thing is I want to generate a sheet that I'm able to bring the boroughs. And what I'm gonna do is, so you're seeing what you guys are doing, I'm gonna create a bar chart real quick of these. So we have these right now. And I'm gonna go to the label and I'm gonna put it in the middle. So it looks great. I'm gonna go change the axis and make sure it is a full image. Perfect. So now we have this table right here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sort it, make sure I could have New York City on top. Okay, looks great. And I'm just gonna hide this and I'm gonna hide this. So now we have this. So 1 second, I wanna make this a little smaller. There you go, and probably make this a little bigger to fit that. All right. So, all right, so we have this sheet right here. So let me show you what I have in mind. So I'm gonna do my dashboard and I'm gonna bring this over and I'm gonna put it right there, okay? And actually, we'll bring the table in a different moment. So I'm just gonna remove it, all right. So I have this. So what I want to do is every time I click on here, I want this to change, right? If I click on the Bronx, I only want to show me the Bronx. If I click Manhattan, it's only going to show Manhattan. If I click New York City, it's going to show me the whole city. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the action parameter. So we have one more thing to do. Let me remove these. So it's done sheet. Okay. So the first one is we're going to create a parameter. And we're just going to call it B. And we just make sure it's a string. And that's all that we're doing. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a calculator field. And I'm just going to call it this my B filter. I'm going to do here, I'm going to call my parameter, I'm going to create a function. And I say if my parameter is equal to New York City, then it's true. Else if my parameter is equal to the borough, I want it to be true, else false. Okay. Oh. Great. All right. So if we go here and we put this filter on the color, everything will be the same, right? Everything will be false because our parameter value is actually 1 right now. So that's okay. What we do here is we're gonna go to dashboard and we're gonna look at the actions. And this is one of my favorite actions to add, and it's called change parameter. What I'm gonna say is from the new tape sheet that I created, which is 5, I wanna target my parameter and I want to pass the field once I select it. So I'll show you what that looks like. I'm gonna bring the parameter B, so you see it right here. So every time I select New York City, it makes it New York City. If I click the Bronx, it makes it the Bronx. So this is the action parameter that allows you to pass those things. Now what I'll do is, so I created the filter, and I'll go here, and I'm actually gonna apply my filter here, and I'm gonna make it true. And so I go back to my dashboard, and I'm gonna remove these. And you see now, I click New York City, you have the whole city. If I click the Bronx, it shows me the Bronx. If I select Brooklyn, it shows me Brooklyn. If I select Manhattan, it shows me Manhattan. If I select Queens, it shows me Queens. And if I see Staten Island, it shows me Staten Island. So this is how action parameters works, and it allows you to play with the visualization. So you actually don't need to have a filter to be able to do that, but also you can create some sort of interactions and improve your UX for them to be able to have some sort of buttons and navigate the visualization on that. And the last thing I wanted to show you, well, I think I'm out of time, but hopefully you like this lining tip that I just shared with you. So, all right, Skylar, I think I'm done with the line tips.
No, you can continue.
Okay, all right, I'll continue. All right, so the next one that I want to do is the pop-up views. So what I'm gonna do here is I have a table right here, and literally on this table, I have the borough, the neighbor, and the zip code. And this is the table that we had before. But, you know, if I were to have that table here, is, you know, it eats up on the space that I have for my maps, and now they don't look as great. So I'm just gonna have and remove that. I don't want that. But some people really like to see the table information. So what can you do about that? So we're gonna do click on floating, and we're going to bring a vertical object, okay? So on this one, what I'm gonna do is, in preparation for this, I have the same table here, table 1, this is where you see. Table 2 is the same, but the only difference is that I made everything white, and I'll show you why I did that. Because I'll go here, and I bring my table 2, and I'll bring it right here, okay? So I still can see it, but one of the things I like to do is I'll go to my box and I will, let's say, give it a dark background. And you know what? I don't want it to be 100%. I want it to be, let's say, 85. So it has, actually, it's 75. So it has a cool effect that, you know, the map is in the background, but you're seeing your table. Okay, but now the question becomes, all right, but the table's still on top of the map. How I do get rid of that? So now what we have in one of the vertical sections is that you could add a add or show hidden button. So we see it right here, and here's a button. This is how it appears, and I'm gonna edit it. And instead of being an image, I actually want it to be a text. And this is, we're just gonna cut it close. And the background is going to be, let's say, black. And we want it to be, let's say, some yellow. All right, and this one we're gonna call info. And we're gonna make it black, right? And the background, we're gonna make it yellow. So we can apply, okay, so we see it right here. I'm just gonna make it a little bigger. So here it is. I'm gonna go to presentation mode, I'm gonna click it, and it disappears. So now what this does, oh, we have one more thing to do. Sorry about that, this is my table. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring my filter again, and I'm just gonna make sure it's true, okay. So you go to our dashboard, and we put it here. So now you have a dashboard that it had the same features you had before, but the visualization is a little different. Now you have some sort of interactive menu that allows to change the different sections of your map. But let's say, you know, I want to see more information about what I'm seeing. Now you have your table. Once you click on it, it pops up. And actually, once you start changing it, it changes with your visualization as well. So in that way, you have more time and space to show the colors and richness of your maps. And at the same time, you have the ability to double the size of your visualization by utilizing these pop-up windows. And this is something that we use a lot. All right, so that's the two things I had.
That's awesome. Juan and Jeff, thank you so much for both those presentations. It was like getting like a behind the scenes look at the front line of the pandemic. It was very cool to see these dashboards and what y'all are working on. I think we have some questions in the Q&A if y'all want to handle answering them. I think we have some time.
Okay.
I did see a question about the forms. Somebody wanted more information about the forms that we were, I guess, collecting the manual data from, but didn't really ask, you know, anything specific. I will say that, you know, critical to, you know, any of this reporting is having normalized data. They started tracking before they reached out to our team. They started tracking this in REDCap. REDCap, you know, is a great tool for collecting information, but, you know, depending on how you assemble it and whether or not you create normalized or validated fields, you know, you can get a whole different types of information coming in that you really can't do any type of reporting on. So the goal was to make the form, and plus they had to do about 30 different, answer 30 different questions or so in that form. We got it down to about 4 questions. We just really were interested in who they were, which was very easily to look up because we linked it to a lookup file to our PeopleSoft employee file. So like I said, we knew Jeff Silva worked at Healthcare Analytics, and he was located at 1983 Marcus Avenue and stuff like that. So there was very little information. The other form asks, you know, what's your title? So somebody could say, you know, a doctor, an MD, a DO, you know, so once again, there was nothing to report on. So having these forms tap into some of the information systems that already exist of, you know, reference, you know, data that's already sound. and asking a few questions, we found that we were able to get a ton of information. If you saw that dashboard, there was a lot of information there. We really only asked 3 questions, but it gave us the ability to collect information rather quickly. And like I said, having that ARC, you know, that the Analytic Resource Center there, it's basically a simple web form that just populates a SQL table, and then we just report on it nightly. It's actually live, so we actually have a live look on our burn rate of masks, and that really could be applied to many other different applications. You know, for, like I said, any type of manually abstracted data in healthcare. For those of you that work at hospitals, stuff like tracking or monitoring EKG machines, you have to log it every day. Somebody has to go in and write in a book, I checked it at this time, I checked it at that time, I checked. Same thing with temperature monitors. There was another question in here about Internet of Things. You know, temperature monitors in ORs. You know, you want to know if the OR temperature in a room is, you know, slowly dwindling down. You know, you might have to have somebody look at that system. We maintain certain temperatures in the ORs. Same thing with like any type of bone or tissue, monitoring for temperatures of that, for any type of implantables, stuff like that. Those are all the Internet of Things that you could potentially monitor, and we are looking at that. We do have some access devices. Somebody else asked about, such as telemetry, cardiac monitoring, stuff like that, plugged into a near real-time environment. Yeah, you can see trends, you can see things happening. So that's something we're looking at more at today, and expanding upon that.
So I saw 2 questions in the QA that I think I can answer. The first one, I believe someone from MSK is asking, what are the 2 or 3 Tableau data strategies you learned thus far through COVID-19 that you may implement and apply differently going forward if a similar massive health situation arose in the future? I think it goes in 2 ways. Sometimes that we realize that in all of these is that our data needs to be very close to our operations. If you work in a hospital, in the data really needs to reflect what your day-to-day interactions happen. So if you start utilize some sort of information system and you're recording the information through there, and this helps you, to identify who's a true COVID patient, who's not a true COVID patient. It does require for us to invest some time on how the data integrity and the data entry is happening in our EMR systems, because these will really impact the analytics and data visualization that you can do. So that's something that we're very cognizant now, and that when we had the opportunity to think about this about 3 or 4 weeks before COVID happened, so we actually were able to have this ready in place, and it really get us a good head start in this whole pandemic. The other question that I had, and I thought that it would be very important, is about how do you govern data access, and particularly on PHI. So Lenox Hill Hospital, we try to be as transparent as possible and trying to get information to everyone. But at the same time, we have to be very cognizant that there is specific clinical and personal and private information that should not become available. So in Tableau, we use username filters. That pretty much is the dashboard will read which username is reading the information, and we'll be able to suppress the information based on that. You could do this at the user level name. If you have an Active Directory, you could do this as well, or you can control these on the actual project or folder, what it holds. I mean, there are different ways to do it. So that's the 2 questions that I saw that I thought would be important to share. And that one was, I believe, so I believe that one was answered already. You want to answer the questions, Jeff, that you saw?
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through them now.
All right, so I see one that it says,
Yeah.
was it difficult to collect this data? How did you handle false positive or false negatives? This is something that you'll have in your data, whether you're just using just your data for reporting or whether you're using when you're trying to measure the efficiency and accuracy of your AI models or predictive models. This is something that you always have to double check. And sometimes when we roll out at the beginning, sometimes we're missing some patients, sometimes we were identifying these patients, but then it became a very important process of validating the information through our end users and having that channels of communication that will let you know, clinically, this patient doesn't really have COVID, or this is the clinical variable that it really changes your whole algorithm. So the thing is, you know, having, and I think this is very challenging for everyone that works in dashboards and data visualizations is, you know, being able just to have a dashboard and just walk away from it. But in these type of scenarios, you're always going to have to make updates and customizations and always update your dashboards and fine tuning on that end. It sucks. You have to go back and make all those changes after you think that you completed your work, but it's just the nature of, if especially in healthcare, that you have such a high level of variation.
I have one here. I'll just go over it. So, just lost it. Scroll down. The question was about oh, here it was. Okay, sorry. So Jeff, did you consider Power BI? I always knew we would go with Tableau. So like I said, I started using myself Tableau in about 2012 at Forest Hills Hospital, looking at radiology data. Started creating some dashboards, started gaining some traction. We do have Power BI you know, for users to use. It's really though for some of the heavier lifting. And for technical users, we, you know, successfully, thankfully, Tableau went off very well. It was adopted by many of the users relatively easy, and also we gave them that support, right? So we helped them build their success by supporting them. Really, you know, we can't do it all. We're a large health system, like I said, about 72,000 employees and all the different service lines. We have a lot of talent out there. And just as I was looking at radiology data at the time, that's what I was familiar with. That's where my expertise was. So, you know, it was far easier. And you definitely want to get your end users looking at the data because there's really nobody better than them that you know, to you know, produce dashboards. They know their business questions. So to answer this question, we were very well established as an enterprise self-service solution with Tableau way before we got Power BI. But there are some folks using Power BI, but it is limited. I would say probably about 95% of the users are using Tableau.
And one of this other question, do you use Alteryx at all to do any ETL or data prep?
So we have, you know, we did look at it. We have a very talented ETL and data management team. So, you know, a lot of that work is done, you know, with some of the other tools, you know, enterprise-based tools, ETL type tools. So it really wasn't a fit for us because we were able to really produce very similar results, you know, without using it. But I do see a use for it in smaller institutions, smaller, you know, businesses and stuff like that, where they might only have like a handful of folks that, you know, can do some data or massaging and stuff like that. Definitely, you know, could be, you know, powerful for them, especially if you, you know, you have the scheduler, you know, there's a scheduling piece, I believe, for the extracts to go to the server. But, you know, inside, like I said, we leverage, you know, the talent that we have, and, you know, it's been working for us.
You'll have one more question in you, or?
Go ahead. Juan, do you see something you wanted to grab?
So, well, a lot of questions are coming in right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a question about how, do you guys use role level security to restrict data?
Right.
Yes, we answered that before. That's how we use the username to block PHI, which in the hospital means will be your personal information or clinical informations. So we use that. Well, I'll try to answer several ones that are here. You know, for beds dashboards, how do you capture information on when and what events were being used? We, as Jeff mentioned, we have a, I don't know what the name is, but we have a team that they actually set up some data marts, and these data marts allow us to have flags and parameters that allow us to flag patients that meet certain attributes. And when those attributes, it's patients on ventilators. So now that's how we actually cross-match our bed management systems with our clinical systems, and we utilize Tableau to help us communicate between the two of them. And another question, I believe this came from the chat. It says, how do you schedule automated alert distributions? This is something that is a function on your Tableau server. So when you actually go on your dashboards, you will see different type of options that you have that are based whether you set up a subscription or base, or when certain targets or parameters are met. So this is actually found on Tableau server and not on your Tableau desktop. Okay, I think I got 3. How about you, Jeff? Do you have any other?
Do y'all have Twitters or your LinkedIn accounts where maybe someone could get in contact with you if they have a
Sure.
question you haven't answered, if you want to plug your socials?
Sure. Okay, let me try to bring mine. 1 second.
Yeah, feel free to reach out. I think my email is on the presentation. Feel free to reach out to me if anybody has any questions. Be happy to answer them. I already mentioned to somebody they had a lot of questions surrounding the high availability environment that we built. So be happy to maybe even jump on a call with you and just explain some of the stuff that we did. That in itself is a whole session. So.
Oh wait, I believe I just shared my profile with just you, Skyler. Oh, panels and attendance. Okay, I just put it on the chat, my LinkedIn profile, so anyone could just send me a message if you have any additional questions.
Awesome. Is there anything else y'all want to say before we close out?
Just thanks for the opportunity, to talk to you guys. Looking forward to maybe doing this in person in the near future. I know this is the new norm. This was the first time for me doing a webinar like this virtually. But yeah, this has been a great experience, Tableau, and some of the things that we've done over the last few years. And we're looking forward to the next, few years and seeing what we can do to expand on it.
Yeah, I have to agree with Jeff. This was really fun. Thank you, Skyler, for setting this up, and Tableau for giving us the opportunity to share with everyone the work that we're doing here at Northwell. Yeah, thank you. It was great.
Yeah, and I mean, especially a round of applause for y'all. Those were some really great presentations. As I said before, it was really cool to see those dashboards and what hospitals and healthcare are doing during this pandemic. So with that, I think we'll close it out. Thanks everyone for attending. I think we'll do another one sometime soon, hopefully in September. Again, if anyone has ideas or would like to pitch a session that they'd like to speak to, reach out to the me or the other links that were shared in the presentation earlier. And with that, thanks.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Stay safe.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe. Bye, y'all.